Dear students, welcome to a lecture on conservation of biodiversity, in situ and ex situ conservation. The present lecture will be divided into two parts. Today, in the first part of this lecture, we will discuss in situ conservation of biodiversity. Biodiversity is pivot of all natural systems that support and sustain life on earth. Yet, we lose species at an alarming rate and often without knowing what we have lost. Of all the global problems, this is one that is moving more rapidly and that it will have most serious consequences on earth. IUCN defines conservation as management of human use of biosphere so that it may yield greatest sustainable benefits to present generation while maintaining its potential to meet needs and aspirations of future generations. Actions to maintain biodiversity can be focused on three levels: ecosystem level, species level and genetic level. The species has a central place in conservation science. It embodies the array of diversity from gene to population and provides a measure for diversity of communities. So, it is at species level that biological conservation is most operated upon, whatever the identity of target, from the large mammals to rare and inconspicuous desert plants. Maintenance of biodiversity can be carried out either in situ, that is within the natural habitat, or ex situ, that is out of the natural habitat. First, the in situ conservation. Most important single way by which species can be conserved is by protection of their habitat through control of land use. Central to this approach is network of protected areas which nearly all countries possess. In situ conservation is a comprehensive system of protected area which involves setting aside large portions of earth's surface for wildlife with emphasis either to save the entire area or an endangered species. However, the overall extent to which these measures actually preserve wild organisms, especially in tropics where most species occur, is not known. Now, first of all, national protected area system. There is considerable variation between countries in mechanisms used to create and maintain systems of protected areas. Thus, some standard means of classification was required to be used in making international comparison. Through its World Commission on Protected Areas, IUCN has provided the international guidelines on the categorization of protected areas for nearly a quarter of a century. These categories are internationally recognized and facilitate a global system for defining, recording and classifying protected areas and wide variety of specific aims they might embody. These categories are strict nature reserve, scientific reserve. To protect nature and maintain natural processes in an undisturbed state in order to have ecologically representative examples of natural environment available for scientific study, environmental monitoring, education and for the maintenance of genetic resources in a dynamic and evolutionary state. Second category is national park. To protect outstanding natural and scenic areas of national or international significance for scientific, educational and recreational use. These are relatively large natural areas not materially altered by human activity where extractive resource uses are not allowed. Next is natural monument or national landmark. To protect and preserve nationally significant natural features because of their special interest or unique characteristics, these are relatively small areas focused on protection of specific features. Next, managed nature reserve or wildlife sanctuary. To assure the natural conditions necessary to protect nationally significant species, groups of species, biotic communities or physical features of the environment, where these may require specific human manipulation for their perpetuation. Controlled harvesting of some resources can be permitted. Next is protected landscapes and seascapes. To maintain nationally significant natural landscapes which are characteristic of harmonious interaction of man and land while providing opportunities for public enjoyment through recreation and tourism within the normal lifestyle and economic activity of these areas. These are mixed, cultural or natural landscapes of high scenic value where traditional land uses are maintained. The next category is resource reserve. To protect the natural resources of the area for future use and prevent or contain developmental activities that could affect the resource pending the establishment of objectives which are based upon appropriate knowledge and planning. This is a holding category used until a permanent classification can be determined. Next category is anthropological reserve or natural biotic area. To allow the way of life of societies living in harmony with the environment to continue undisturbed by modern technology. This category is appropriate where resource extraction by indigenous people is conducted in a natural traditional manner. Multiple use management or management resource area. To provide for the sustained production of water, timber, wildlife, pasture and tourism with the conservation of nature primarily oriented to support of the economic activities. Now, the International Protected Area System. In the field of nature conservation, there are 2 international conventions and 1 program that include provisions for designation of internationally important sites in any region of world. These are World Heritage Convention, Ramsar or Wetland Convention and Man and Biosphere Program under UNESCO. First of all, World Heritage Sites, written as WHS. The Convention concerning protection of world cultural and natural heritage was adopted by UNESCO in Paris in 1972 and has been ratified in 2011 by 187 countries. The Convention provides designation of areas of outstanding universal values as World Heritage Sites, with principal aim of promoting international cooperation in safeguarding these important areas. According to this convention, natural heritage refers to natural features consisting of physical and biological formations or groups of such formations which are of outstanding universal value from aesthetic or scientific point of view. The next is Ramsar Site, written as RSS. The Convention on Wetlands of International Importance, especially as waterfowl habitat, was found in Ramsar, Iran in 1971 and has came to be known popularly as the Ramsar Convention. Ramsar is the first of the modern global intergovernmental treaties on conservation and sustainable use of natural resources, but compared with more recent ones, its provisions are relatively straightforward and general. It provides a framework for international cooperation for conservation and sustainable utilization of wetland habitats, that is, to stop the progressive encroachment on wetlands and their loss now and in future, recognizing the fundamental ecological functions of wetlands and their economic, cultural, scientific and recreational value. Over the years, however, the Convention has broadened its scope of implementation to cover all aspects of wetland conservation and wise use, recognizing wetlands as ecosystems that are extremely important for biodiversity conservation and for the well-being of human communities, thus fulfilling the scope of Convention text. The Ramsar list of wetlands of international now includes 1855 sites known as Ramsar sites, up from 1021 sites in 2000. The nation with the highest number of sites is the United Kingdom at 168 and the nation with greatest area of listed wetlands is Canada with over 130,000 square kilometers. Presently, there are 159 contracting parties, up from 119 in 2000 and from 18 initial signatory nations in 1971. There is a panel and a secretariat. The headquarters is located in Switzerland. The next category is Biosphere Reserves. The establishment of Biosphere Reserve is part of international scientific program called Man and Biosphere Program. The Biosphere Reserve differ from other types of protected areas in that they are not exclusively designated to protect unique areas or important wetlands, but for a range of objectives which include research, monitoring, training and demonstration, as well as conservation. In most cases, human component is vital for functioning of biosphere reserve, which does not necessarily hold true for either World Heritage Site or Ramsar Site. Biosphere Reserve is an international designation initiated by UNESCO in 1973-74 for representative parts of natural and cultural landscapes extending over large areas of terrestrial or coastal or marine ecosystems or a combination thereof. Biosphere reserves are spatial environments for both people and the nature and are living examples of how human beings and nature can coexist while respecting each other's needs. Functions of the Biosphere Reserve. Each Biosphere Reserve is intended to fulfill three basic functions which are complementary and mutually reinforcing. First, conservation of biodiversity. To ensure the conservation of landscapes, ecosystems, species and genetic variations. To encourage the traditional resource use system. To understand the patterns and processes of functioning of ecosystems. Next, sustainable development, which includes to promote at the local level economic development which is culturally, socially and ecologically sustainable, to develop the strategies leading to improvement and management of natural resources. And the last, logistic support, to provide support for research monitoring, education and information exchange related to local, national and global issues of conservation and development. Sharing of knowledge generated by research through site-specific training and education. Now the structure and design of Biosphere Reserve. In order to undertake complementary activities of biodiversity conservation and development of sustainable management aspects, Biosphere reserves are demarcated into three interrelated zones. These are natural or core zone, manipulation or buffer zone, and transition outside the buffer zone. First, the core zone. The core zone is kept absolutely undisturbed. It must contain suitable habitat for numerous plant and animal species, including higher order predators, and may contain centers of endemism. Core areas often conserve the wilder relatives of economic species and also represent important genetic reservoirs. The core zones also contain places of exceptional scientific interest. A core zone secures legal protection and management and research activities that do not affect natural processes and wildlife are not allowed. Strict nature reserves and wilderness portions of the area are designated as core areas of Biosphere Reserve. The core zone is to be kept free from all human pressures external to the system. Now the buffer zone. In the buffer zone which adjoins or surrounds core zone, uses and activities are managed in ways that protect the core zone. These uses and activities include restoration, demonstration sites for enhancing value addition to the resources, limited recreation, tourism, fishing and grazing which are permitted to reduce its effect on core zone. Research and educational activities are to be encouraged. Human activities, if natural, within Biosphere Reserve are likely to be permitted to continue if these do not adversely affect ecological diversity. Now the transition zone. The transition zone is the outermost part of a Biosphere Reserve. This is usually not delineated one and is a zone of cooperation where conservation knowledge and management skills are applied and uses are managed in harmony with the purpose of Biosphere Reserve. This includes settlements, croplands, managed forests and areas for intensive recreation and other economic uses characteristic of the region. So, in buffer zone and transition zone, manipulative macro management practices are used. Now some limitations of protected area system or networks. Most protected areas are extremely small, typically of a small size that is far below the required to maintain viable populations of large vertebrates. Protected areas tend to be biased towards land of low economic value, experiencing less competition from alternative forms of land use and towards the limits of geopolitical units. In consequences, they do not adequately represent patterns of natural vegetation or species occurrences. The existing conservation network has been conceived along rather static lines and is not well equipped to cope with the changes in the distribution of species that are being brought about by global climate changes. These changes would normally cause shifts in the distribution of species, typically with expansions along some range boundaries and contractions along others. From the present lecture, it is concluded that in situ conservation is comprehensive system of protected areas which involves setting aside large portion of earth's surface for wildlife with emphasis either to save the entire area or an endangered species. Protected areas network has been divided into National Protected Area System and International Protected Area System. National Protected Area System in turn is divided into 8 categories, namely Strict Nature Reserve, National Park, Natural Monument, Wildlife Sanctuary, Protected Landscape and Seascape, Resource Reserve, Anthropological Reserve and Multiple Use Management Area. International Protected Area System has been divided into 3 categories: World Heritage Sites, Ramsar Sites and Biosphere Reserve. But the most important limitation of these protected areas is that most of them are extremely small and tend to be biased towards land of low economic value. So, they do not adequately represent patterns of natural vegetation or species occurrences. This was all about in situ conservation of biodiversity, and in the next lecture we will discuss the ex situ conservation of biodiversity. Thanks for attending today's lecture.